I would like you to explain everything you know about the American Revolution in chronological order.
Okay. So first, we start off in Britain. Okay, there's this guy named King George. They don't like him because he's bad. He's like a bad leader. So they come to America and they're like, oh, great place. Then we have the 13 original colonies. I don't know all of them, but I know Massachusetts one, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, yada yada. Okay, and then so they want to break up with King George because he's such a bad leader. He's taxing them. That's no good. He just wants them for money. So they send him a breakup letter, the Declaration of Independence, right? They break up with King George, and he don't like that. So they fight over it. They fight because he wants them for their money. So in 1776, they sign the Declaration of Independence, and they get their freedom from Britain.
Do you know a lot about the American Revolution?
No.
You're disappointed, Dom.
Not at all.
No.
Disappointment.
You see, okay. Let's see, what's the first thing that happened? It was a major thing. A lot of things happened. Definitely high taxes. Okay, the war. Whatever. The war between the British and the French. It was very expensive. So yes, after the war was over, the Brits, they were in lots of debt. So you know what they had to do? They raised those taxes. That was taxes on like paper, sugar, or tea, you know? They raised the taxes, people were angry. They were like, no, that's not cool. And then other stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened. Those taxes, they were up, they were high, people didn't like it. They started boycotting things, and then, the British, they did not like that. So they sent in soldiers to like force people to buy products. They were bad. Those taxes were high. There was military control from the soldiers, the British soldiers. And then that's when things took, like they were still boycotting. Like there were like important groups like the Daughters of the Revolution or something. They they were boycotting. Then violence started happening. Like people started getting hurt. Like when like 5 soldiers fired on like a crowd of people. Bad. And then it got to a point where the U.S. they decided, like they sent like a letter to the British, and they like demanded things. And then the British was like, no, we don't care. And then they started fighting. The Boston Tea Party, that happened. And then they declared, then a bunch of other stuff happened. And then they started fighting. And there was a lot of battles. Oh, and the French helped us. They were our allies. The end.
A lot of it had to do with taxation without representation, the idea that as colonies we didn't feel like we had the kind of authority that we should have had. We were also trying to kind of break away. To be fair, it wasn't really the British fault that they were taxing us so much. We just fought a giant war here, the French and Indian War. So they had to raise some revenue to pay that war off, and we actually benefited a lot from the war, so I get why they were taxing us, but also the taxes they were putting in place were on everyday items that a lot of people needed, and so it was important for them to gain that revenue, which is why they were taxing everyday items, but the people who were paying the tax weren't very happy about it. So we always hear about taxes. Also, there's a couple things like authority, representation, the type of government, and so we decided during this whole Enlightenment period that we wanted to govern ourselves. So we decided to write the Declaration of Independence. We sent it off to King George. He, of course, wasn't happy about it. Have a couple big protests that get a little bit violent, and then that kind of kicks off the war itself. So once that war kicks off, we have a few years of actual fighting. We didn't do so well in the first couple years of that, barely stayed alive, and then we kind of regroup at Valley Forge, and after that we have a couple big victories. We actually relied a lot on the French for this one. We don't really give a shout out to them very often unless you actually take a class to pay attention to it, but the French definitely helped us out in this. And with the help of the French and some pretty good fighting and some guerrilla tactics as well, we were able to defeat the British, which is pretty awesome, and then set up our own country there. So there's like a really quick thing.